Hey everybody, I am Brady Briggs. Welcome to another episode of the Combat Logic. What's up, guys? I'm here today to talk about UFC on ESPN 37, headlined by Calvin Kattar and Josh Emmett, which is just a wicked fucking fight. This is actually a pretty good card too, man. Like, I didn't realize after UFC 275, I was like, this card might, take a little bit of a hit. It might fall off a little bit as far as, star power goes. But man, this is a really good card. All right, we'll start off by saying there are 14 fights to go down this Saturday. Okay, 14, which is fucking awesome. It's so cool. Roman Dolidze opens up the preliminary card against Kyle Daukaus. Now, Dolidze has gone 3-1 in the UFC so far. Only lost to Trevin Giles, coming off a win over Loreno Staropoli in a fight I thought Loreno was going to win. And then Kyle Daukaus is coming off. Oh no, I thought he's coming off that performance against Kevin Holland that ended in a no contest, which really saw him submit him after a headbutt. But no, that's right. He fought and submitted Jamie Pickett in the first round of his next fight. That's right. I'll tell you what, man. Kyle Daukaus is kind of like a Darce choke king. Let's go through his record. Rear naked choke, Darce choke, Darce choke, rear naked choke, Darce choke, decision, Darce choke, decision, Darce choke. He's got fucking 6 Darce chokes, dude. 7 if you count the Kevin Holland fight. And, dude, he's got 11 wins. 6 of them are by Darce. That's fucking crazy. Tony Ferguson would be so proud. Like, wow. It's pretty remarkable. Phil Hawes is facing Deron Winn in the second fight, which is a pretty good fight. Phil Hawes was the only guy to beat Jacob Malkoun for a while there. Malkoun just lost to Brendan Allen this past weekend. And honestly, he could have got the nod in that fight. It was a very, very, very close fight. Honestly, I thought he won the first 2 rounds and lost the third, but I was happy to see Allen get the win. But yeah, nonetheless, Hawes is also 3-1 in the UFC. He's coming off a loss to Chris Curtis, who has been knocking everybody out lately. His only other 2 losses are Julian Marquez and Luis Taylor, two pretty good fighters. And he'll be facing Deron Winn, which is like mini DC, one of the most credentialed wrestlers in the sport right now. He's like 5'5" or 5'6", 185 pounds, which is kind of remarkable. He's 7-2 as a pro. He's gone 2-2 in the UFC so far, losing to Darren Stewart and Gerald Meerschaert. So it'll be interesting to see how he rebounds. Right, let's get this hairband on, right? Because I can't see. It's driving me fucking nuts. All right, next fight in the bantamweight division. This is going to be a good fight. I can't believe there's only 3 fights in, considering some of the other fights on the card. But Eddie Wineland, the first ever WEC bantamweight champion, will be facing Cody Stamann. And this is a real fight for their careers. Each of them will probably risk a pink slip in this fight. Now, Wineland, though, he gets good wins still to this day at times, but he has won 1 time since 2016. Okay, he's 1-4 in his last 5. His last win was at UFC 238, which was the night Henry Cejudo fought Marlon Moraes. For those of you that don't know, that's the last time Eddie Wineland won a fight. And let's see, his last 4 wins are by knockout. Since losing to Renan Barão, he went into that fight on a 2-fight win streak, knocking out Scott Jorgensen, beating Brad Pickett. He lost to Renan Barão, knocked out Yves Jabouin, lost to Johnny Eduardo and Brian Caraway. Eduardo KO'd him, which is a jiu-jitsu guy. None of us ever saw that coming. He knocked out Frankie Saenz and Takei Mizugaki, which is super impressive. Lost to John Dodson and Alejandro Perez, knocked out Grigory Popov, and then he lost to Sean O'Malley and John Castaneda, getting knocked out in both of those fights. Meanwhile, Cody Stamann, dude, his career hasn't quite gone the way I thought it would. So I'm going to start off by saying Cody Stamann went 17-1 as an amateur, okay, in MMA, which is a ridiculously long amateur MMA career. He went 17-1, and he came to the UFC at 14-1. He'd won some titles there as well. His only loss was a split decision in his 8th fight. He was 7-0 going into. He lost that fight, won 7 more. He got the call to be in the UFC. He won his first 3 UFC fights. Now, the latter 2 were very close, especially against Brian Caraway. Like they were all 3 by decision. He was pretty much a decision fighter. But his loss to Brian Caraway, dude, he almost got guillotine choked at the end of the first round, the end of the second, and the end of the third. Literally, if those rounds had 5 more seconds in them, I think he would have tapped in at least 2 of those rounds. I am nearly certain. Or he would have won all. Nonetheless, he was 3-0 in the UFC going into his fight with Aljamain Sterling. He's 17-1 as an amateur, 17-1 as a pro going into his fight with Aljamain Sterling. He gets all grappled and submitted in this fight. And then he beats Alejandro Perez, goes to a draw with Song Yadong, and beats Brian Kelleher. He's now 19-2-1, okay? And he really should be 20-2, because go back and watch that fight with Song Yadong. Everyone knows Cody Stamann won that fight. You know what's more? Song Yadong was deducted a point in that fight, okay? And it was still a draw. Like, how the fuck were the judges scoring that fight for Yadong? I just don't get it. He got wrestled that whole fight. But anyway, 19-2-1, and dude, since then he's lost his last 3 straight. 19-2 to 19-5, losing to Jimmy Rivera, Merab Dvalishvili. No shame there. I mean, there's no shame in losing to Jimmy Rivera either, but he's not done so well for himself lately. He, like Stamann, had like one of the best records in the entire sport. He's just kind of fell off a fucking cliff lately. And then he just got submitted by Said Nurmagomedov in 47 seconds earlier this year in January, which, man, I'm super excited. Said Nurmagomedov has been a little more active lately, but man, like Cody has not done too well lately. Let's skip up the card a little bit to Ricardo Halmos, versus Danny Chavez. Now, Halmos, I have a lot of hype for. He's still only 26 years old. He's got really good striking. He's flashy with it. He's dangerous with it. He's got a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's definitely hiccuped a few times in the UFC. 6-3 in the UFC, 15-4 overall. But I see so much hype in this kid. Like, he knocked out Faraz Zahabi's brother with a spinning back elbow, for those of you that don't know, for what that's worth. And Danny Chavez is 35 years old. His last fight was against Kai Kamaka, which must have been a while ago. Yeah, it was almost a year ago, because I was going to say Kamaka's had like 2 or 3 fights for Bellator since then. He's 1-1-1 in the UFC. He's 11-4-1 as a pro. I think Halmos probably take this one. I hope so, man. He's a good fighter. Jeremiah Wells is fighting Court McGee. Court McGee has had a little bit of a resurgence lately over his last couple fights. But, yeah, interested to see how that one goes. Adrian Yanez versus Tony Kelly. This should be a good fight. Tony Kelly is very good at striking while switching stances. He's a good athlete. He's out of Team Alpha Male. He's 35 years old, which is kind of surprising to me. I did not know he was that old, because he's only 8-2, man. But he's a very good fighter. He lost to Kevin Aguilar over the course of 5 rounds before coming to the UFC by split decision. He lost to Kai Kamaka in his UFC debut, and since then he's gone 2-0. Now, Adrian Yanez has gone 4-0 since coming to the UFC. And the first 3 of those came via knockout. 1 in the first round, 1 in the third round, 1 in the second round. Both of these guys are coming off second round knockout wins over Randy Costa. Actually, Yanez just beat Davey Grant in a fight after that. But check out Adrian Yanez's resume. UFC debut until his last fight. Performance of the night, performance of the night, performance of the night, fight of the night. He's had 4 UFC fights. That's pretty fucking impressive. Not to mention, he, like Tony Kelly, he has 3 losses. Tony has 2, but he has also lost split decisions and unanimous decisions. Okay, Kelly has lost 1 split decision, 1 unanimous decision. Adrian Yanez has lost 2 split decisions and 1 unanimous decision. Okay, neither have been finished. They're both great strikers. This is going to be a really, really good fight. Oh, they've both been 5 rounds before, too. All right, that was the prelim main event. Let's get to the main card between 2 men opening it up. in the middleweight division, Julian Marquez and Gregory Rodriguez. This is going to be a good fight, man. As soon as this fight was booked, I couldn't wait to write about it. Like, I wrote the fight booking up because I was like, ooh, man, that's a good one. That's a really good one. So let's see. Again, like with Kelly and Yanez, both of these guys have lost controversial decisions. Marquez is 9-2 coming into this fight. He's lost one unanimous decision, one split decision. Rodriguez coming into this fight has lost 2 split decisions, and he's been knocked out twice. But Gregory Rodriguez is a world jiu-jitsu champion. He is one of the better grapplers. Well, he's at least a national champion in jiu-jitsu, actually. I'm not sure if he's a world champion or not. He's at least a national champion, though. His jiu-jitsu is absolutely impeccable. He's a former LFA middleweight champion. Let's see. Over the course of his first 5 wins, 4 of them came via submission. Same with over the course of his first 6 wins, 4 came via submission. Since then, he has only finished people by knockout. Okay, he's gone 5-2 since then. He's gone 5-2 since then, only winning 1 decision. Every last one of those knockouts is a KO. All right, which, man, the improvement, the potential that this dude has, it's really, really exciting. And then he lost his last fight to Armin Petrosky by split decision. I thought he won that fight, but it could have won either way, I suppose. And then Julian Marquez, he's had to take some long breaks, but after submitting Darren Stewart in his UFC debut, and then actually, Julian Marquez is like Gregory Rodriguez, except the exact opposite. You know how Rodriguez submitted everyone early on, and then he started knocking people out. Well, Julian Marquez knocked everyone out early on. He went 6-1 through his first 7 fights. He knocked all 6 of those opponents out, one of them being Matt Hamill. And then, as well as Phil Hawes on the Contender Series to get a shot in the UFC, too. And then, since then, he's gone 3-1, losing a split decision, all 3 wins by submission. So it's like Gregory Rodriguez, except the exact opposite. It's like, this is a perfect job of matchmaking, man. It really is. He submitted Darren Stewart, Makai Patolo, and Sam Elvey. So, yeah, man. I'm really excited for this one. Damir Ismagulov. Man, he's coming back, finally. Well, I guess he's only been gone a year. But yeah, it's about fucking time, dude. He's 4-0 in the UFC, former M1 lightweight champ. He's very, very technical. He reminds me a lot of Rashid Magomedov, if any of y'all remember who he is. Rashid is a little more slick with his kicks. I think Damir is a little more of a boxer, though he is very proficient with kicks too. But yeah, he kind of reminds me of him, and I'm glad because Rashid has been gone for quite a while now and hasn't done quite so well in the PFL since leaving the UFC. Joaquin Buckley versus Albert Duraev. This is going to be a good fight. Man, this is going to be a really good fight. I'm always excited to see Joaquin Buckley fight. Ever since his UFC debut against Kevin Holland, I've been a fan of his. I was like, he's just a heavy-handed boxer. He's kind of like Mike Tyson, you know. That's kind of like what he fights like. Obviously, he's not as good at boxing as him. He's obviously very athletic, too, with that 2020 knockout of the year we saw. Yeah, he's very, very athletic. But Albert Duraev, fucking ACB champion. This is a pretty big step up for Buckley, but is it? I mean, because Buckley, let's see, who has he fought? He's gone 4-2 in the UFC so far, and that's 6 fights, okay? 5 of them ended in knockout. The only one that didn't end in knockout was this last fight against Abdul Razak Al Hassan. And all 3 of those wins that were knockouts were KOs. Both of those losses that were knockouts were KOs. People usually go to sleep when Joaquin Buckley is fighting. Okay, he's had 18 total fights. 13 of them have ended in knockouts, whether he won or lost. He's also got 3 performance of the nights in those 4 UFC wins. Yeah, so that'll be interesting to see how that goes. Tim Means versus Kevin Holland. This is another really interesting fight that, honestly, I don't know how it goes because Tim Means is such an incredibly technical striker. And so is Alex Oliveira, the guy that Kevin Holland made his welterweight debut against. And Alex Oliveira was piecing him up through that first round, man. He was picking him apart so handily. And then Kevin was able to, catch him with a punch and then some elbows and get the finish early on in the second round, 38 seconds into the second round. But Tim Means is a lot. I don't know, man. He's so tough, but he's 38 years old. Tim Means is 38. He's not a spring chicken anymore. That being said, he's won his last 3 straight and has gone 4-1 over his last 5. So, and his last loss before that was to Nico Price via KO. Okay, that was the first time he was ever knocked out in a fucking mixed martial arts fight. First off. Second off, that was about as dominant of a performance as you could have while still losing. Go back and watch that fight, man. He was fucking Nico up. That cross was so beautiful. He couldn't miss it. He was snapping Nico's head back, and then he came in for the kill and got starched. But he could very easily be 6-1 in his last 7. Nonetheless, he's 5-2 in his last 7. And then Kevin Holland, yeah, he had like one of the better 2020s of any fighter, going 5-0 with 4 knockouts. 5-0 with 4 knockouts in 2020. And then he came out in 2021 to go 0-2-1, losing to Derek Brunson, Marvin Vittori, losing all 10 rounds, and then having a no contest with Kyle Dawkins in a fight that he kind of got fucked up into. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. He's almost a decade younger than Tim Means. That may play a factor. We will see. Donald Cerrone versus Joe Lauzon. Thank God this fight is going down. Man, I was so upset when it was fucking canceled and rebooked. I was glad that it was rebooked, but I was so upset when it was canceled. Like, God damn it, dude. Just like UFC 275, man, Manel Kape versus Rogerio Bontorin was canceled again. It's like, son of a bitch. I guess fucking sucks. I wanted to see it so bad. Neither guy are what they used to be, but they're both straight up legends. They're both straight up bonus machines. They're both straight up finishers that either finish their opponent or they don't always get finished in defeat, but oftentimes, man, this is going to be a really, really good fight. I don't think either guy can take the other's best, but honestly, Joe Lauzon's always had very underrated boxing, but he's only been effective with it at times. And Don Cerrone is a 28-0 pro kickboxer, but if you watch his last few fights, he does not have that timing. He doesn't have the killer instinct. He's not quite the same as he used to be. His best days are behind him. So I really want to see these two on the ground, man. They're two of the best offensive grapplers the sport has ever seen. Yeah, man, both of them are so fucking crafty on the mat. I really, really can't wait for that. And then, of course, we got the main event between number 4 ranked Calvin Kattar and number 7 ranked Josh Emmett. No, I said it a number of times before, and I'm going to say it again. I was so upset that the UFC didn't give Josh Emmett the title shot at UFC 273. They went with Chan Sung Jung instead, and I'm going to tell you why. Chan Sung Jung, first off, is a couple years younger than Emmett. Secondly, he's already fought for a belt. Thirdly, he had won 1 straight. Okay, Josh Emmett was on a legitimate win streak, winning his last 4 straight. Okay, while securing 2 knockouts, and the 2 fights that he didn't get to knock out in, he knocked his opponents down. Like, he secured a knockdown in every single fight he's had since moving down to featherweight. He knocked Felipe Aranches down like 4 times in that fight, at least, if not more. In his featherweight debut, he KO'd Ricardo Lamas, one of the longtime top 3, top 4 contenders at featherweight. He knocked down Jeremy Stevens before getting knocked out by him. He KO'd Michael Johnson at the end of round 3. He knocked out Mirsad Bektic in the first round. He knocked Shane Burgos down 2 or 3 times in that 3rd round. And he knocked Dan Ige down a number of times too. It's like, dude, why in the fuck would you give it to Chan Sung Jung? Dude, Chan Sung Jung, his most recent win was the guy that Josh Emmett had most recently beat too, Dan Ige. They were both coming off wins over Dan Ige, but dude, Josh Emmett has had such an injury-riddled career. He's 37 years old. He might not get another shot, man. Like, give him the fucking shot. Not to mention, after watching that fight between Chan Sung Jung and Alexander Volkanovski, I think a number of us could think, Josh Emmett would have made that a much more competitive fight. Like, I don't understand. Like, Jung had won his last fight. Before that, he got fucked up for 5 rounds against Brian Ortega, dude. Like, Josh Emmett had won his last 4 straight, 17-2. Like, man, that was upsetting. I was so upset that they passed him up for that. Meanwhile, Calvin Kattar, after getting battered by Max Holloway, has come back and prior to that, his last win was also over the same person, Dan Ige. And he came back and beat Giga Chikadze and really looked incredible in that fight, man. 364 days out from his fight with Max Holloway. And a lot of us were thinking, dude, Chikadze is one of the better kickboxers in the sport. Like, Kelvin is a one-dimensional boxer. But he proved to us he's not. He's got some grappling. And, yeah, his boxing is as good as it ever was. And him versus Emmett is a very good fight. It really is. But, dude, they should have gave that shot to Josh Emmett. And if Josh Emmett wins this fight, which honestly, I kind of hope he does, man. But then again, dude, could you imagine Kattar versus Volkanovski? Like, that would be such a sick fight. But I think it would be an easy fight for Volkanovski because his leg kicks, kicks in general, but his leg kicks especially. But then again, dude, Kelvin gets his hands on Alex. Like, Alex has shown a tendency to get hurt in the past a few different times. But, yeah, him and Volkanovski versus Kattar or Volkanovski versus Emmett would be a good fight. But, man, I want to see Emmett get his shot. I really do. If he wins this fight, he'll be 18-2. If Kattar wins this fight, he'll be 24-5. Like, they both have great records. They're both great strikers with underrated ground games. But, yeah, it'll be the first time we saw Josh Emmett in a 5-round fight in the UFC, which is interesting. How do y'all think it's going to go? I appreciate you for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. It'll help me, motivate me to make more videos and continue growing the channel. Thank you. Have a good one.